Hurricane Milton is barreling toward Florida's battered Gulf Coast as an enormous Category 5 storm. It is triggering massive traffic jams and fuel shortages as officials order more than 1 million people to flee before it slams into the Tampa Bay area. Milton, which exploded on Monday into one of the most intense Atlantic hurricanes on record, was forecast to make landfall late on Wednesday or early Thursday. Treasure Island streets were empty as the Florida city braces for the arrival of another hurricane weeks after being hit by Hurricane Helene. Aerial footage showed debris from Helene still visible on some sidewalks and multiple dump trucks arriving in the city to help with cleaning efforts. Satellite images show Milton regaining strength in the Gulf of Mexico to become a Category 5 hurricane once again before it hits the west coast of Florida.
This could be the worst storm hit Florida in over a century.
U.S. President Joe Biden said fleeing Hurricane Milton was a matter of life and death on Tuesday, and he urged those ordered to evacuate to do so immediately, after the massive storm lashed Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula with heavy rain and wind on its way to Florida's Gulf Coast. A view from the International Space Station showed a monster storm that's expected to grow even larger before making landfall in the Tampa Bay area on Wednesday. Highways leading out of the area were jammed with evacuating Floridians. A direct hit on the bay would be the first since 1921.
Milton underwent what we call rapid intensification.
Dr. Daniel Guilford is a climate scientist for Climate Central.
Rapid intensification is something that is becoming more common in a warming world. We know that as human beings increase the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, largely by burning fossil fuels, we are increasing the temperature all around the planet. And in certain places like the Gulf of Mexico, temperatures are actually growing faster than around other places on the planet over the ocean. And that means that there's a lot more fuel available to these storms than there would have been if we hadn't burned greenhouse gases.
While Milton's intensity was likely to fluctuate, it was also expected to double in size, putting hundreds of miles of coastline within the storm surge danger zone, according to the National Hurricane Center. Florida's densely populated west coast is still reeling from the devastating Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago. Relief efforts remain ongoing throughout much of the U.S. Southeast after Helene made landfall on September 26th, killing more than 200 people across 6 states and causing billions of dollars in damage.
To tell us more about the current situation, our correspondent Susan Tenani sent us this report.
The powerful Hurricane Milton is barreling towards Florida, prompting urgent evacuation warnings. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor issued a die warning. Quote, "If you don't leave, you will die." Forecasters predict Milton will make landfall as a major hurricane around the Tampa Bay area late on Wednesday or early Thursday. Residents are fleeing or preparing for the worst. Long lines of cars are evacuating the coast, while others are stocking up on supplies and boarding up homes. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency, and President Biden has approved federal assistance. U.S. airlines are already canceling or rerouting flights to and from the region. With Milton's landfall imminent, Floridians are bracing for catastrophic winds, storm surges, and flooding. Excess winds upwards of 100 miles per hour are also expected all the way to Orlando, but the region is still churning in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene recovery, for example, in North Carolina, has been severely hampered by a lack of running water, and the mayor says that's unlikely to change anytime soon, with schools and businesses closed indefinitely. President Biden has canceled a trip overseas to Germany and Angola to monitor the situation. Susan Terfani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now to discuss more, we had Sher Goodman from Washington, D.C. earlier. She is the Secretary General of the International Military Council on Climate and Security. And she's also the author of Threat Multiplier, Climate, Military Leadership, and the Fight for Global Security. And here's what she said.
Well, I'm deeply concerned about the people in the path of the storm, because this is projected to be the strongest storm in over 100 years. And it's made more and more likely because of the heat wave, the marine heat wave we're experiencing. So we have met our climate future and we're experiencing it right now. So I hope that everyone who has received an evacuation order has heeded it and moved out of harm's way. Because as the mayor said, this is going to be a very deadly storm. Our military bases in the area have already evacuated people. And of course, they're there to provide rescue as needed. But this is going to be a deadly storm. I expect we're already recovering, still recovering from the damage of Hurricane Helene just last week. And now there's going to be another storm on top of it, compounding and increasing the risk to people and infrastructure. Water, power will likely be out for some time.